us to run up this ramp, jump, grab, and hang. This is the ramp.
What kind of playground is this? Is this like American Ninja Warrior training? I don't get this. Where are these playgrounds? I need to test this out.
This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Marissa Roberto, and we got a huge Western matchup between the Oilers and Avs tonight, featuring some of the best players in the world going at it. Let's start with the standings though, because Colorado is in a battle for the Central, with the Dallas Stars who are ahead by 3 points and have won 8 in a row. Colorado owns the tiebreakers as of now, and winning the division likely means a matchup with Nashville or LA rather than Winnipeg. What's also important about this game is that it features 2 of the 3 players fighting for the Art Ross Trophy. Connor McDavid has 2 games in hand on Nathan MacKinnon and Nikita Kucherov, but he's 7 points back of the Lightning Star and 4 back of Nate Dogg, which means it could be a 2-horse race with MacKinnon needing to make up a lot of ground. Now, as far as this matchup itself, despite this being 2 of the most talented teams in hockey, the Avs have dominated it in the last 3 seasons, with a 9-1-1 record in the last 11 meetings, including a 4-game sweep in the playoffs. Granted, a fair number of those losses have come in extra time, but still, Colorado's got Edmonton's number right now. What the Oilers do have going for them, though, is home dominance from their best players. This season, McDavid and Zach Hyman in particular have been different when playing at home. Connor has 11 more goals and 32 more points in Edmonton, while Hyman has scored 34 goals in 35 home games. I'm just kind of impressed with that. I want the Leafs to get those kinds of numbers at home, you know? To basketball, and what a weekend we've got ahead of us as the Final Four is here at last. And the women's side tips off tonight with a pair of great games, as South Carolina takes on NC State and Iowa takes on UConn. Let's start with the later game because Caitlin Clark is basically must-watch TV at this point. In 4 NCAA tournament games, she's putting up over 32 a game to go with 10 assists and 7 boards. Those numbers are just absurd, and she's also having some fun on the big stage.
I didn't know the Cavaliers were good until after we got to the It was under Ross. Okay, do you know every NBA team plays? Why else would they be?
Caitlin is that girl. But the player that she's up against is arguably just as good, and even had more hype when she committed to UConn, as Paige Beckers is one of the best players in college basketball, and has been just as dominant as Clark in the tourney. But for Clark, this is a bit of an opportunity to exact revenge, as she actually wanted to go to UConn. She recently said, "I loved UConn. I think they're the coolest place on earth. And I wanted to say I got recruited by them. They called my AAU coach a few times, but they never talked to my family and they never talked to me." Which honestly is kind of a tough look for UConn. Like, you're not even gonna talk to, you didn't see the value in Caitlin Clark early? I don't know. And why wouldn't you want to go to UConn as a high schooler? They were the gold standard for so many years. And while they haven't won a title since 2016, which was their 4th in a row, they have still made the Final Four in 15 of the last 16 tourneys. That is an absurd stat. Well, I feel like we just have to go Caitlin Clark. We can't not. We're riding this amazing story of Caitlin Clark. We're just gonna take it to the end. She needs redemption. This has to happen for her. And you can watch the women's Final Four tonight on TSN. It all starts at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, as unbeaten South Carolina takes on NC State. Then after that, it's the main event, Clark versus Beckers. Iowa versus UConn with the trip to the national championship on the line. While the women's Final Four goes down tonight, the men will be tipping off tomorrow night for the right to face off in Monday's national championship game. Despite some weather-delayed flights, UConn has arrived in the desert and is ready to continue its title defense against 4-seeded Bama. But the game we're most intrigued by is between the tournament darlings of NC State and powerhouse Purdue, led by Canadian Zach Edey. For more on this exciting matchup, we are bringing in our buddy DZ, who's been covering all the madness across the TSN network. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
What's up, Risser?
All right, DZ, you've witnessed firsthand just how dominant Zach Edey and his Boilermakers can be. After their embarrassing first-round exit last year, how much has this year's performance raised Edey's draft stock?
So last year, coming out of the season, obviously very disappointing to lose to FDU. His draft stock was looking as around the top of the second round, even all the way at the bottom. This year, totally different. It's not just down to the tournament run. He's been historically dominant during the regular season as well, but it has not hurt that it's also translated to the tournament too. He's projected around the middle of the drafts, 15, 16, 17 spot. Who knows if he keeps going forward, gets to that national championship, helps Purdue defeat this historically good UConn side, maybe it goes up from there, but I think he's probably going to be around in the middle. Wouldn't be bad for the Raps to use that Indiana pick.
Now, on the opening day of the tournament, Jack Armstrong told us he thought NC State would likely be out of gas after their miraculous run through the ACC tournament. But we know you were high on DJ Burns Jr. and the Wolfpack, even before the Cinderella run. Do you think there's any path for them to pull off another upset tomorrow?
There's absolutely a world in which they could pull off this upset against Purdue. How could you think otherwise? I mean, they're going to have to answer the question that no one thus far has been able to answer, which is how do you stop Zach Edey? But clearly, they have their own big man who plays very differently, but is incredibly effective in DJ Burns Jr. He was effective in those 5 wins in 5 days in the ACC tournament, and has been the exact same in this tournament. When Nikola Jokic is late to his own post-game press conference because he's watching you play and then is gushing, saying he's so skilled and complimenting your left hand work, you know you have a special player. And if you have a special player, you got a chance in March, or April in this case.
Thanks again, DZ. Enjoy the games tomorrow.
Thanks, Rizzer.
And our coverage of this highly anticipated matchup begins tomorrow at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific on TSN, followed immediately by Bama and UConn. And we got some more big news from college basketball, as Bronny James has declared for the upcoming NBA draft. The 19-year-old son of superstar LeBron James is coming off a tumultuous freshman season at USC, which saw him suffer a cardiac arrest back in July, which led to a procedure to treat a congenital heart defect, and sidelined him for 5 months. When he returned, he struggled to regain the form that made him a McDonald's All-American in high school, finishing the season averaging under 5 points and 3 boards in less than 20 minutes a game. Bronny took to Instagram to say he's entering the NBA draft while maintaining his college eligibility, and also entering the NCAA transfer portal, which will help maintain his flexibility and give him the most options. The combo guard will have a chance to work out with NBA teams and make a draft decision based on those evaluations. So maybe we'll get to see a father-son tandem in the NBA sooner than we thought. Time now for my favorite segment and yours, Why We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
For years now, John Boy has been the gold standard of lip-reading breakdowns, mostly focusing on the MLB, but we've seen them venture into NHL, NBA, and NFL controversies with just as much success. But this week might have been some of his best work yet, as he broke open a college softball case that proves if you smelt it, you dealt it.
This girl's gonna finally admit something after sneaking out this little bunt, getting to first base, hustling down the line. Coach says, was it you? Yeah, it was me. Laughs, turns to her teammate on second, totally farted. I was pretty sure it was you.
Oh my gosh, I need to be friends with all of those women. These are my people. I love that. So good. If you're not admitting it, are you having any fun at all? No, well, the video evidence is damning. We didn't have any audio confirmation of this crime, so maybe Samantha Ray could escape without doing the time. We'll leave it to her teammates to decide if Ray was guilty.
No, because listen. What? Wait, what happened? Ray, there's no way. What is that? There's no way, Ray. There's no way you did that. What is it? Is that what you said? Look at you said that. I literally don't think I said bro. No. I didn't say that. How did you saw that? God, yeah, you're so funny.
Oh no, she doesn't remember saying it. I don't know, I guess you're in the moment. She was in the moment. She got on base. What's the problem? But maybe thou dost protest too much. I guess they do say she who denied it must have supplied it, so I don't know if there's any truth to that though. I feel like if you did it, just admit it. Who cares? See, that also rhymes. If you did it, just admit it. That should apply. Who cares? Everybody farts. Everybody farts, okay? You're not better than anyone else. Just admit it. The F1 season is in full swing, as we were less than 36 hours away from the 4th race on the calendar. This weekend's race comes from Suzuka in Japan. And we've got it for you on TSN. Carlos Sainz snapped Max Verstappen's 9-race win streak down under. See if he or anyone else can hold off the defending champ in the wee hours of Sunday morning, when our coverage begins at midnight Eastern. With more on some of the major storylines heading into the race, we're bringing in our F1 guru, Tim Harady. Timmy, good to see you once again.
Marissa, thanks very much for having me. It's great to see you. It's great to talk some F1.
Lewis Hamilton made some major waves once again, when he said his old rival, Sebastian Vettel, would be an amazing option to replace him at Mercedes next year, when Hamilton leaves to join Ferrari. Do you think there's any chance that we see Vettel behind the wheel of an F1 car next season?
Yeah, Marissa, I think that's great that Lewis Hamilton is coming out and supporting a former rival. The thing is that Sebastian Vettel has to be the one who convinces these teams and team principals to give him a shot if he wants to come back to Formula One in a serious fashion. Now, Seb is having conversations with Toto Wolff. It's just about things that are happening off track, not necessarily getting back into an F1 car. And for Seb, he wants to come back in a competitive environment, in a competitive situation, if he were to do that. And if we look at the teams, I would say the top 5, obviously, being the most competitive: Red Bull Racing, you have Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Aston Martin. And the big seat that is available there is obviously that one at Mercedes that we've talked about. And I think for Toto Wolff, I don't necessarily think you want to take a driver who's been out of Formula One for a few years now and put them in your race car when you're trying to get back to the front of the field, because F1 moves along so quickly and evolves so fast that as a driver, being removed from F1 even for a year, it's really difficult to get back in and be very, very competitive. Not many have been able to do it. So if I'm Toto Wolff, I have to take a look at this driver landscape at the moment, and the one driver that sticks out to me has got to be Carlos Sainz.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, good stuff. Thanks very much for having me, Marissa. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
That's all for today. We'll see you back here Monday, 3 Eastern. No Pacific. Have a good weekend.